The Immortal Mask, a 1970s superhero crime noir adventure, follows a retired soldier turned reporter who is given a coveted interview with a death row inmate. What he learns thrusts him into Atlanta's shadowy underworld. He'll have to use his military training to survive being hunted for possessing the information that could topple the city's most powerful ruling class. This is not a pre-order or a crowdfunding campaign. Get your books now at denali's.com.
Oh man, I wish I could find a way to better advertise Apothic Press.
Just back it already.
Whoa, Crom, what are you doing here? What's this? The Madness Roku Network. Sponsorship. 1 month of playing your 30-second ad on the network 3 times a day? Oh my gosh, for $20? And you can't beat that.
Just back it already.
All right, Crom, I'm doing it. Awesome. Hi, I'm Tanner Hurley, founder of Apothic Press. I back the Madness Roku Network, and so should you.
"25 seconds to curtain, folks."
Your favorite podcast is Critical Plus.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him from the LCS Guys show, Mr. Michael Tierney. Get it done, Michael. It's been a minute or so since we've chatted.
Yeah, it has been. How you been doing?
I'm tired. I didn't know getting old meant getting tired. It's like I started missing some things, and like, you know what? Not really missing it, not doing it. So yeah, and one of the things that sort of fell by the wayside was the LCS Guys show, because I started getting other things that I had to do, and then pretty soon I was like, how do I start it back up again? We need to
Yeah,
get
just let me
back
know.
on it.
Yeah, I always enjoyed doing it.
And I did too. I didn't hate doing it. It was never a chore. It's just sometimes it escaped my memory, and before you knew it, we'd missed 3 of them. And
Yeah. I mean, I know I missed a few episodes when I was first working on that Robert E. Howard art chronology, because I was going into a monster workload, and I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that's what's happened to you is workload just overwhelming you.
the workload did get large. We'll get back to it. I just saw Dave Dyer this past Saturday.
Mhm.
He was running Dracula Fest at his store. He had Dacre Stoker in the store, Bram Stoker's great nephew, who's doing a Dracula comic of all things. So
Okay.
we're
Right.
yeah, we have we talked to him in the store. We've agreed we're going to do a podcast. We're just trying to settle on a time, so it'll be kind of a fun one here. I don't have the background up. How did I? There. Let's have something at least
There you go.
entertaining.
That looks good.
So, how many volumes of Wild Stars does this make for you now, Michael?
Well, this is the 6th one. This is the halfway point.
What I thought it was.
What's that?
I thought it was the halfway point.
Yeah, it is. And I actually wrote the first draft of it back in 1977, 78, when I was moving from Kansas to Tulsa, Oklahoma for about a month, and then ended up in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I've been here. I was in town for one day. 50 years later, I'm still in town. So I call it the half century day. But I've had a lot of great opportunity here, so I just kind of stuck. But so I did a first draft on it, and I never did submit that to any publishers. And then I kept I was in my Wild Stars universe, and then so I started doing other ones. First Marker was the next Wild Stars novel I wrote. And I submitted that all up and down the Fifth Avenue and got all sorts of favorable responses, but nobody wanted to buy it. And then all of a sudden I started seeing my ideas start showing up other places. So I'm like, okay, I quit submitting and just kind of did my own thing. And First Marker was the basis for my 1980s Wild Stars comics when I finally started publishing them myself. And then when I started
with a registered trademark logo, if you know, people.
Yes, registered trademark. And for people who've asked, registered trademark means all 50 states. I actually had somebody who was trying to take it to ask that question. Like, that's the stupidest question I've ever heard in my life. What state
is a federal office where this gets registered?
Yeah, federal registered means all the blankety blank states. Yeah.
Yes.
Still a little upset about that, but that's in the past. But so I did my comics, and then in the 90s I wrote Under the Wild Stars, another novel, which was basically the basis for the Wild Stars, the third volume of them that I published in 2001, 2002, and then collected all those together into volume 1 called The Book of Circles. And then with volume 2, I incorporated the other comics from Force Majeure, which is supposed to be a trilogy that the artist disappeared on me about halfway into the second one. So I just incorporated into the story. Like, there was a reason these earlier parts were illustrated and the later parts were text. So I actually made that part of the story. And I've always had a plan to do 12 volumes all together. And so when I got to 6, this is where this one fell into the saga. And so I was working on the Robert E. Howard art chronology. Not even getting more than 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night, never even going to bed. I just take a couple hour nap on the couch and get back up and go at it till I couldn't go no more. And then I was also had converted my stores to mail order and online fulfillment. I saw an eBay store. And so that's all I was doing, just working my tail off on that stuff. Well, then in February of 2021, we had this monster snowstorm that just shut everything down from Arkansas all the way to the west or east coast. And for 2 weeks, I couldn't even get any mail, no deliveries or nothing. So I thought, well, this would be a good time. My deadline was August to turn in the next volume. I'm just going to pull it out while I got 2 weeks just to totally concentrate on it, and did a rewrite on it. It was originally like 105 or 108,000 word novel, but it was written over moving to 3 different states. And so I had a little bit of repetition in there. So I boiled all up, ended up getting it with a 75,000 word novel that was wrapped around with some framework. And so that's ran in Crossover Magazine last year. And right now on Kickstarter, we're offering the paperback and hardcover editions of Wild Star 6. And I've also got some bonus material in there because when I first moved down here, I was managing the fast print division of International Graphics. I was at the age of 22. I had employees, all had children older than me. But they found out real fast I was going to work harder than anybody else. And, and it really wasn't an opportunity. I mean, I talk about all this in that article about basically what it was. They just wanted to close it down. They're like, hey, this division is losing money. Its lease expires in 6 months. Let's just get somebody to run it for that time period, and we'll just let everybody go. They weren't telling me that. They were like, hey, we want you to run this thing. And before me, the guy who'd been the previous manager was 28 years old. He'd been the youngest ever in the history of the corporation. And this is the largest printing conglomerate in the state of Arkansas. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll run that. Sure. I was 22 at the time. Most people my age were still in college. I already had my journeymanship in printing. And, I was passing through town, made an application. I'm thinking, oh, this is a waste of time. But like, hey, would you consider moving to management instead? It was a huge pay cut, but it was also a huge opportunity. And then, after 6 months, training to be their purchaser, then they said, hey, you want to manage the fast print division? I did. And the very first month, I took that thing that had lost money for years in a row, and with 5 employees, I out-earned the other 5 divisions with 550 employees. I made more profit than all of them combined. Not percentage, actual dollars. And so, the company, I eventually left there because I could tell the writing was on the wall, because what happened, the guy who founded it died, and all the people he'd trained to succeed him all died. Then you had people from other departments running it who didn't know what they were doing. They were cannibalized. I was like, this is not sustainable. So I went and started my own business. Nobody could believe I left. But I was still around, and they're long gone. They were gone like 2 years later.
That sounds a lot like the comics industry today, with DC and Marvel, being no longer run by people who started it.
Right.
We got
Well, see, the
Mike
internet
Walters is watching out here in the chat,
Oh,
and
thanks.
he's dropped in to like and share and say hi. And
Here's that.
no, not regularly, Mike. I'm not gonna commit to that yet. But
We're
as
talking about
people reach out, if we do the LCS guy show, that should be regular again, at least once a month.
But to get back to the Fast Print story, that's the division I was managing. When they finally did close down, that was the last division to go. That was the last thing left. So it was the first one they wanted to get rid of, and it was the last thing they had left because they realized, hey, this is the way of the future. This, if you work it, it can actually turn money. And so
fast printing, what is that? Is that like print on demand or something?
Well, no, it's kind of like a little print shop like Quick Copy, things like that. Kinko's, remember all those? Well, this was like Kinko's before there was a Kinko's. And it was just a little bitty print shop, with some, dress-to-graph, multigraphs, just to do business forms, envelopes, business cards, just about all sorts of types of printing, short-run printing that you could do. People who, because we were right in the heart of downtown Little Rock. There's a big bar and restaurant where we used to be located. And so, I was in a perfect place, and all the people, hey, this guy delivers. So I was getting swamped with orders, and we were just turning out. Of course, I was trained to be the purchaser, so I made sure I had all the equipment and all the materials we needed to run the jobs when the jobs were ready to be on the presses, and we were just flying them out the door, and we were really doing well. But while I was there, I managed that for like 6 months, and after that, I had like desks in 3 different divisions and 3 different phone numbers on the phone chart of the corporation, because they worked me pretty hard and never did pay me. But that's another reason why I left. But that's crazy. But the guy who does the work, let's pay him as little as we can. But while I was there, though, I did a couple of publications because I had basically everything you needed to do a publication. And one of them was a portfolio. I'd done the year before a magazine in my Stories and Art called The Multiversal Scribe, which included a Wildstar stories, because I had all these different universes and other parts of the multiverse I wanted to write stories on. Wildstars is where I've ended up concentrating on. Well, I had a Wildstar story in that one called The Boundaries of Decision, which was the lead-in to Wildstars 5, or actually, no, I take that back, Wildstars 7, which is running right now in Christopher magazine. And that one is called The Gold Exigency. And so that story was in there. Well, I did a sequel to it, but I did this one a little bit different. I did this one as portfolio, where I did plates, including some from the Wildstar's Orphan of the Shadowy Moon that, I'd never showed to an editor. And, another nice thing, too, I also hired another guy, Bruce Conklin. He did 3 plates. I did 3 plates. We signed and numbered every single plate individually. No, just the envelope. No, every individual plate matched. And, of course, that's long been sold out. And so one of the bonuses that you get when you buy the book edition is you get some of these images that haven't been seen unless you bought that portfolio way back in 1978. And so that was one of the publications that I did, and it gave me that opportunity. It's just amazing. Now, with a laptop like I'm talking on right now, has just about all the capabilities that whole print shop used to have back there in the 70s. Technology's changed. I mean, the things you can do now is just unreal.
Well, speaking of changing technology now, you've got this book that you wrote in the 70s, and you're rewriting it in the 2020s. How much rewriting do you find that you're doing? Because technology, I mean, Star Trek in the 70s, they still had turn dials and flip switches.
Well, this is what was so great about it. I never showed it to an editor, so none of my ideas ever showed up. And actually, some of my ideas were maybe too far ahead at that time. That now you have things like jet skis. A lot of this takes place on water, and I had basically like military tank on water, jet skis on water that was armored and with cannons, and basically have ways of armies fighting each other on jet skis with weaponry and swords too for close combat there. So
the swords are cool.
Yeah, in the 70s, there was no such thing as jet skis, so it was just something really out there. But other things that I had in the story have actually gone from science fiction to science fact. Like in there, I had where you could take a panel off of this building and still control all the functions of this giant machine in a whole building that's just one big machine, and you could control it for miles away. Now you have wireless and laptops, and so now it's gone from being science fiction to science fact. So I really didn't have to rewrite anything other than just clean it up, and, tighten it up, and get rid of any repetition.
It's just you lost some of the fantastic out of it because, of course, it's a remote controlled flat panel. Yeah, no big deal there.
Yeah, so it was no longer quite so visionary, but at the same time, I never saw any of my ideas show up any other places. I'm like, well, if you don't show it to editors, hey, funny, your ideas don't get shared with other people.
It's amazing how that works. If you keep it a secret, what was it? Ben Franklin said, two can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
Yeah, that's about the way it works. Yeah, and I actually had somebody once tell me that that it was good business to steal creators' ideas and give them to other creators. That I could write. This is back before I was really having anything published, and he said you could write the best first novel I've ever read, and we publish it. We sell 1,000 copies, but we give your idea to Stephen King. He publishes it. We sell 100,000. That's just good business. I'm like, no, it's creative theft.
Yeah.
But you can't protect your ideas. That's the bad thing about it. Once your idea's out there, it's free for all.
Well, and that's why and George, if you're still watching, George is my spirit animal, creative mentor. Stops me from making bad decisions and steers me on to good ones. And I credit him a lot with a lot of the success I'm having in other businesses. But I had made an image that I thought was cute, and it's like, oh, this is funny. This is something maybe we can do something with. And I just put it on Twitter, and I said, hey, George, take a look at this. And he sent me this very terse and almost angry message. Says, take that down now. I'm like, okay, there's something offensive in here. I don't see this, blah, blah, blah. I took it down. I'm like, okay, what'd I do? He's like, send it to me. And I sent it to him. And then he sent it back, says, now post it. And all he had done was put copyright 2023, RJ Carter, criticalblast.com. And he says, you never give this stuff away.
Yeah.
Because once it's out there, like you said, they grab it and boom.
Yeah.
George, controlling me is very difficult. He has to have 40 black coffees every morning. But don't throw your ideas out there, and don't even ask people to say, hey, would you buy a book about this? Because yes, somebody would, and they're going to write that book now.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword too. I mean, some people don't want to be exposed to other people's ideas because they don't want somebody to come along and accuse them of theft later. I remember I was on the comic book
DC anymore.
Yeah, I was on the comic book Legal Defense Fund cruise, and I was coming off the boat at the same time as Frank Miller and his editor at Dark Horse, Diana Schultz. And this guy comes running up to him, hey, Mr. Miller, I want to show you my work, and hands him an envelope and then runs off. And he didn't even want to touch it. He just gave it to Diana, and she's turned to me. Well, what should I do with this? This is me. I'd just throw it in the trash can, because if he opened it up, saw it, and then that guy said, hey, you stole my idea, if Frank happened to be doing anything kind of similar. I mean, so it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there's some people who don't want to be exposed to other people's idea because you don't want to take the chance of stealing somebody else's work.
Absolutely. Well, there's and I can't remember his name, but I know that he was working as a stringer at DC Comics at one point, and he submitted a Batman story to Michael Uslan, who was there at the time, and the story didn't get published, but many of those elements suddenly appeared in the Batman movie.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to fight a lawsuit on that now. I don't know how much headway he's making.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had movies made out of my stories too that I've gotten no credit for, and just the battle to try to prove it. I mean, it's just the people with the money just railroad everybody that they can, and
sure. Well, that's like when DC sued Fawcett way back in the day over a trademark. Hey, we're back full circle again. And yeah, Mike, if I seem at anything at all like a trademark law expert, I'm not. But I've watched cases about it very closely and in person. Right, Mike?
Yeah. Some of my cases.
Exactly. And now I forgot what I was talking about because it went back to the DC suit against Fawcett. Fawcett was perfectly in the right with Captain Marvel. It wasn't a Superman ripoff at all. Different power set. He just happened to be able to fly and be strong, but he didn't have all the Kryptonian stuff. But DC could outlast them in court, or national periodicals could outlast them in court. That's all they had to do. It's like you don't, when you're in the woods, you don't have to be at bear chases. You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than your friend.
Yeah.
They ran out of money, and DC said, "Okay, well, we'll just take the character now. Here's some money." And then we had Captain Thunder for a while, and
look what happened to Siegel and Schuster, and Superman.
Yeah,
it's criminal. I mean, they spent so much money on lawyers. Where if they'd just given that money to the family, everybody had been happy.
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
would have been a lot happier too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once it's all done, the legal things all run out, they just make a new Superman with a totally different background and character and don't have to pay you anything.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
same with new Spider-Man. Hey, don't have to pay Ditko's family anything because this is a different Spider-Man. Totally different backstory, totally different look, everything.
uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cutthroat world out there, and you got to protect yourself as best you can. So copyright, trademarks.
Yes, and the trademark title, I keep saying it, is the Wild Stars. So, what the heck are the Wild Stars?
The Wild Stars are an area of space of which we are a part of, where basically what happened was 75,000 years ago, mankind, we made our first migration to space. Now, this is a story I came up with right after watching, Neil Armstrong on the moon, one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. I'm thinking, I'm a little kid watching the TV set going, wow, outer space, that's about to become the next Wild West. It's going to be the Wild Stars. And so, I was submitting novels with the title Wild Stars in like 76. I was running up and down Fifth Avenue with Wild Stars Rising. And then a year later, here comes Star Wars. I'm like, that's a little similar. That's going to be some crappy science fiction movie. Nobody will ever remember that. That didn't work out so well. But, but Wild Stars, it's the core because it's not about just one person. It's kind of like a family drama, kind of like, I guess, other things. But, how the different generations have to deal with it. But you got, the one main character, a guy, an ancient warrior, who's so old he doesn't even remember his name. And in this Wild Star 6, that all gets resolved. You find out who he is. You find out his forgotten beginnings, what the whole backstory is on his, star-crossed lovers with him and a woman by the name of Phaedra, he was all focused on trying to save her, and he saves her in book 4. And, but she doesn't want nothing to do with him. And, you got to read the stories to find out all what's going on. But so Wild Star,
he's not just old, but he's healthy. he's a vibrant, virile man at
he's still young. He's not just old and decrepit, right? And so she's still young and vibrant too. And so Wild Star 6, it answers all the mysteries from the first 6 books. And of course, like anything else, if you build it right, it unlocks all these other mysteries going forward. And, that's going to lead you on into 12 and we'll have a big resolution. I've already got the ending written. The publisher at Kursova was asking me, said, look, if you want to go ahead and write all the novels now, I'll pay you right now. Because I know he doesn't want me to do a George R.R. Martin Game of Thrones. Like, I'll get around that last one later. But it's like, I've already got the ending written. So I know where it's going to end. And so, I've always known where this was going, how I was going to wrap it up. And that's why I can just build everything up so, with so many layers and give you such a multifaceted story because I know how I'm going to end it. There's no like, well, I'll figure it out later. It'll come to me. No, it's already there. I've already got it written.
And you've got ancient space travel, ancient astronauts. You've got time travel. You've got alternate universes. The bad guys are the Atomics, which are these basically modern day soldiers of the Nazi regime that actually won World War II on their world.
Right.
And have opened up a wormhole to,
the story on the Atomics is that the reason Nostradamus was so confusing, he saw the dual realities. That time, it's part of the story about time was changed and created the world of the Atomics, and then it got changed back. And when it got changed back, a few of the Atomics crossed over with the change. And, and that's why Nostradamus was so confused because he saw both timelines. So he's right about both of them when only one happened. And Atomics is a word I got from Nostradamus. And so it was a word, nobody was using this. I've got it copyrighted. I've got a website even. I set a website up for my bad guys, atomic.com. The world is not.
It sounds like atomic at some level.
It does sound like that. Matter of fact, I even play with that on their logo. And like there's a big atomic explosion in the background. So, but Atomic's a pretty cool name. And so, those are the alternate reality bad guys. And, but that's, I knew this, the background, I knew everything. So all this stuff I was teasing that I knew I would reveal in book 6, I could build it all up and, because I knew where it was going to go. And so that's the nice thing about having a plan and having so many elements already written ahead. And then you just have to fill in the gaps. And, but what was nice though, is all these things were things I planned back in the early 70s, mankind making a migration into space 75,000 years ago. Then along comes DNA science. And they're like, hey, guess what? 75,000 years ago, the population on Earth crashed so low, you could fit every person left alive on Earth into a small football stadium.
That's because we left.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, that's my story perfectly. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. So, and it's another coincidence.
We put everybody on battle stars, and Adama took them out into space.
Then my Wild Stars 2 Force Majeure, that kind of has most of it takes place on, or a good part of it takes place on Mars. And so when I was doing the comics in 2002 with an artist by the name of Armando Gil, who's done a ton of work for Marvel and other publishers, and he's really good at 3-point perspective. One of the best I've ever seen at that. And but so here I had all this adventure going on Mars, and I had erupting geysers of water exploding out of Mars. Well, at the time we were doing this in 2002, nobody knew that there was water on Mars. 10 years later, we get a rover on there, and it sends a picture back to Earth of these geysers exploding on Mars, and it's almost identical to the pattern of them exploding on the cover of Force Majeure Prairie Bay, the comic. You would have thought the comic was swiping that, but no, it was art. Life imitating art.
That's happened so often. I mean, we all know the smiley face crater from Watchmen. That they found a smiley face crater on Mars. It looks like it. And then was it not George R. R. Martin? 2001 guy, Arthur C. Clarke. Yeah. He described a giant crater on the moon Io that made it look like an eyeball. And when Voyager went past Jupiter, NASA called up and said, "You might want to come look at this." and there's this giant crater on the other side of Io facing down at Jupiter that looks like a giant eyeball.
Well, another thing that kind of predicted the future in that Wild Stars 2 Force Majeure, because it came out as a comic, and then I took the comic, added all the unpublished pages, wrapped it around another like 75,000 word novel. And so, oh, wow, I'm sorry to hear what P. Alexander's going through. No power. That's rough. And So, I put all that in there. And, then I had this thing called a Marzanti spike, where terraforming and, people, they don't have to actually go to a planet to colonize it. They just send all this genetic information on this spiky rock and just crash it into theirs or a planet's oceans, and then genetically rewrite the life there to fit their code. And then here, a few years later, here comes that spike. It's had a Hawaiian name that I've never been able to say. But you remember that spike that came from outside the galaxy or outside the solar system, somewhere else in the galaxy that they don't know where it came from and just passed through kind of close to. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Mistus.
So but that happened years after I wrote that into the story. So that's another thing that's kind of happened later that I'd written fiction about earlier.
So in the Wild Stars universe, we had the technology. We left 75,000 years ago. Did we just leave the stupid people behind or something? I mean, how did we become, BC tech again?
Well, what happened was anybody who wanted to leave, they left. There were some things going on. I don't want to give away the whole story, but there were events going on. All this is explained in Wild Stars 4, Wild Star Rising. And but there were things going on, and where they're like, hey, we got to leave. The planet's there's things going on. A lot of volcanic eruptions, this and that, which, as it turned out, really were happening at that time too. So again, that's history actually tied in with my fiction, and went out in the stars, and and they put different types of people on different types of planets. People who wanted to pursue technology were on one group of worlds. People who wanted to live, a simple, agrarian life or primitive life, they were on another world. And but they've you run into problems because space is not empty. Run into some other races and genocidal enemies, and their war with them ends up spreading back to Earth. And those are the guys who did the time travel thing to create the Book of Circles, where you had the time travel event that changed everything in Volume 1. Had to get that resolved, like which one's the real Earth, the world of the Artomics or the world we know. And speaking of that, to promote it now, the Wild Star 6 has funded on Kickstarter. And so Krasova and I, we decided, hey, let's try to bring in more people. Yep, right there. It's had a $1,600 goal. We're over that now. And but we want to have more artwork in there. So to try to promote this right now, we're giving away on Kindle Volume 1 through this Friday. You can get the Volume 1. Let me find a copy here. This is
how can they get that? They got to hit a link somewhere, right?
They just got to go to Amazon and look for this book. Here's the cover that'll be showing on there. And because we put it on the back because it had such a great cover by Mark Wheatley. I was like, hey, let's just put that on the cover because, every time we're selling it online, you're going to have all that information. But, for the purposes of the Kindle, needed to get that front cover back on there. And so click on that, and that's going to get you almost 300 pages of the Wild Stars, and it'll get you the whole first volume of Wild Stars free through.
Show me that cover again, Mike. Show me that cover again. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right one because I'm seeing Book of Circles. Okay, that's the one. Yes, it is on Kindle for free right now. I'm going to grab the link. Boom, boom, boom. Hang on, it's coming. And I'm just going to throw it out here in the chat. So that anybody who wants to read the first Wild Stars book on your Kindle, there's the link. Grab it, and it is free.
Free through Friday, yeah. So we're trying to get more people interested in it. Hopefully they'll start reading it. Now on the Kickstarter, we also have the other volumes of the story. We have the volume 2, the force majeure I was telling you about. I'll let you finish what you're doing there.
I'm trying to get to where it's at.
All right. Now what you're seeing right there when you go down, go back up. There we go. Right there,
Okay.
that image to the left, that is the paperback cover. The image to the right is the hardcover. Now that's actually an image I did. I actually did 3 images of this Phaedra character. She's the the lost love, the unrequited love, cried love of the ancient warrior. And so I did like 3 different images of that's her as a young teenage girl when her home is invaded. Then I did a couple more for the next volume that's running now. Of course, right now they're running in Crossover without illustrations, so I'm sure we'll probably be using those illustrations whenever the book deal gets ready to come out on those. And then also on the back cover of both those editions, a little bit lower, you get the magazine cover in Virgin format.
Okay.
On the back
So
cover.
this is the magazine cover for Crossover, and you're just going to get the pure image as the back cover.
Right. Now, also
This
on there,
is the high quality artwork.
yeah. And see, here's some of Jesse White's art that illustrated it when it ran. Was serialized in Crossover magazine, and so we're hoping to generate enough sales where we can hire him to do some more art on the inside. So 2 more pages if we can get it going up that high in sales. So that's the main reason why we're doing the giveaway, is try to bump the sales up so we can get more artwork included in there.
Now these are giants.
Oh, those are statues.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they were living beings there, and
Yeah, that's a kind of a semi-sunken city, giant statues, and then he finds a baby nestled in the hands of one group of the statues there. That's what he's finding.
yeah, which is normal. Yeah,
That's the orphan of the Shadowy Stars. They name him after the moons that were overhead when he was found.
so he's I'm only guessing here, but I'm guessing he plays heavily into the next 6 books.
Yeah, that baby is the guy who becomes the ancient warrior.
Oh, don't, no, don't. I hate time travel stories.
Well, this isn't time travel. This is not, this isn't time travel here. This story takes place 1,000,000 years in the past.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you're going back in
okay.
time. See what happened. Yeah, there's a framework, and he's been kind of in his time he's been despondent, because when you live that old, you get to see so many of your children die, and he just lost another son, and he's pretty despondent. And so they were trying to help him recover his memories, and he didn't even remember what his name was, and so they unlock it, and so that's the vehicle for retelling his origin. So this is his origin on a watery world that's doomed 1,000,000 years ago. This is not.
And this will include why he's old or why he lives forever.
Well, this gives you the background of it. Yeah. See, he's the child of extragalactics who actually came through from another universe that existed before ours.
Aha, like Galactus.
Not quite like Galactus. He's not going to go gobbling planets.
Well, no, but Galactus was like pre-universe.
Right. Yeah. And that's what his people are. And and then of course there's another vehicle in there that the fuel that they used when they were crossing over. Well, now it's like an exotic matter. It's completely outside the realm of our physics. And so when they use their fuel, it multiplies. It doesn't deplete. It doesn't do thermodynamics where everything does phase as you use it. It grows, but it can also be very explosive and cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, fuel's like that. That's why it's fuel.
Yeah, and there's a Phaedra. That's her. Yeah, so So yeah, he did several illustrations for the magazine, and then now we're trying to get it to where we can hire him to do some more. Now, also on there, we are offering. This isn't just for WildStar 6. If you go down a little bit further, you'll get to where they talk about the other stuff, like that big book up there at the top. That's the WildStars Omnibus. That contains the first 4 WildStars. So that's being offered there at a special price, along with all the paperback editions of 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you're seeing there.
Yeah.
So all those are in that big hardcover book.
This is a lot of reading material here.
Yeah. So if you want, you can do the complete catch up there. Now, if you take all 4 of those paperbacks and you put the back covers all together, they make one giant star image.
That's cool.
That was a design by Mark Wheatley, the artist.
Yeah, that's a very cool looking design. That should be a poster. I mean, I'm sure it probably is. I mean, he probably did it all in one big image, right? And then cut it.
He works a pretty big file, so yeah, he could have.
So
that kind of gives you a little bit. And then that's the book edition of WildStars 5, because that one was serialized through Crossover magazine, and then a year later it came out. And what you see on the left-hand side is the hardcover illustration. On the right-hand side is the paperback cover. Both of those were run on the issues of Crossover magazine. And then in the center is an exclusive cover that was made for just the Kickstarter offering. And we only printed so many. Well, when I closed my stores, I had bought some extras for me to be able to sell in my stores. I'm offering this out of print book. There's some copies on here that you can buy that before they're all gone, leftover inventory, because it was sold out. But like I said, I had some leftover inventory from my stores after I closed them down. And so we're putting them on there. So you see them, all that stuff listed on the add-ons. You get some other stuff that you just can't get anymore.
Yeah, you've got copies of the Multiversal Scribe, which, as you said, was published in the 70s.
Yeah, 1977. Yeah, that's another thing. I kept thinking I was about to run out, and then I'll find out, oh, here's another box I had stashed off in the corner. Because I was in business nearly 40 years, so things got lost. And so when I was clearing out 2 businesses on 5,500 square feet of retail space, not all of it was used for retail, and stuff just got put in a box. And oh, hey, looky here what I found. So people get.
So you can get all kinds of books. You can get the Force Majeure, which is the comic book graphic novel, Book of Circles.
Yeah, like that the Multiversal Scribe. You see it online. People are selling anywhere from $50 to $100 online. You can get it for $10. We're giving you a deal there to try to get you interested. And of course, that's where had the first appearance of one of the WildStar stories, The Boundaries of Decision. Other things on there too is some other stuff sold out from the first publication of WildStars 3. Because when we did WildStars 3, that was it wasn't serialized. It was just done with the Crossover. And we did 3 different issues. One cover, actually not 3 issues, 3 covers. One was by Tim Lim. We're offered a few of those from my store inventory.
Common America fame.
Yeah, and then we have another paperback edition with a wraparound cover, again by Mark Wheatley. And I'm offering some copies from my store inventory on there. And this one's really limited. This is I think we only did like 50-some copies in hardcover. And love the cover so much by Mark Wheatley. We did this as a wraparound cover, Virgin Art. And I've got some copies of that listed on there as well. So you've got some rare out-of-print stuff being offered at really sweetheart deals.
It's a lot of, and you got original art on here too that you can get.
Yeah, those images you were showing earlier. Yeah, that's what's being offered there. I dropped a book here. I got to grab real quick.
So if you are an original art collector, that there's some deals here for you to get to. Looking over at the tiers here, so what are you expected to spend to get all this? Well, let's see. You can get the ebook of this for $3.
Yeah,
that is so cheap. I see 24-page graphic novels going for more than $3.
Wow. And this is almost 300 pages.
Exactly. You get a lot of reading for that $3.
The Book of Circles. This one, actually, I've got a sample here somewhere. See how many pages we are on this one. Yeah, here's a prototype of the 6. I don't have one of the hardcover, just of this one. And here's where I was talking about on the back cover. You get the Virgin cover by Anton Hopnick. He's the guy who did this cover too, and he's also the fellow. Find it here. copy somewhere. Yeah, he also did the cover for the issue of Cristova that featured my Young Tarzan story that I did as a posthumous collaboration with Edgar Rice Burroughs. It was an unfinished Tarzan fragment that I finished out, and Cristova got to do the first publication.
Yeah, I've got that one.
Same artist.
So grab some art, folks. Now, if you want that soft cover, $20.
Yeah,
$20 for and you saw it. It's real. It exists. It's going to be published.
And it has bonus material in there too. It's like it has that my afterwards of the half century day and some plates from my long sold out portfolio.
One of the things I like about this campaign here is that there's not a lot of tiers. There's a lot of add-ons. You can throw a lot of stuff onto this.
Right. Yeah. If you want,
but,
if you're missing some chapters of the story, you can get it where everything you need is right there. You won't be like, okay, if I buy this, well, how am I going to get the rest of the story? It's all right here.
Yeah. All right there. You can just get the catch-up pack. There's 1 through 5 in softcover, $75 for 5 novels. And then you're caught up, and here you are, $30. You can get this signed softcover. It's $20 without signature, $30 with, $10 for a signature, folks. Not bad anymore. I just went to I was in Little Rock a couple of weeks ago, Michael.
Okay.
I was looking for you, but you were not there at the Arkansas Comic-Con.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it.
I should have told you, because I went there. Now I'm one who grouses about Comic-Cons because they're all celebrity cons now, and I'm like, I don't go there for celebrities. I go there for comic book characters. And Michael Golden was there. And I'm like, okay. He drew rather my favorite Batman story of all time, which was Batman Special #1, The Player on the Other Side by Mike W. Barr. Absolutely. Nobody at his table when I went in. I'm like, are you signing? Do I need to wait for a special time? He's like, nope, you just come right on up.
Oh, wow.
Brought the one book out, and it was $40 to get a signature, which, okay, if that's the way the game's played now. As he asked, do you want a certificate of authenticity for an extra $5? I'm like, no, I know you signed it. It's cool.
You're not going on eBay.
Yeah, this is mine. It's going in my signature, and one scrawl later, I had my thing. But as much as I grouse about celebrities, I had to go. They had all of my exceptions in one place. They had William Shatner.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay, do I get the William Shatner picture? Because that's pricey. And then they're like, or you can sign up for the combo picture with William Shatner and Jonathan Frakes. I'm like, take my money. Take my money. I'm going in for it.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So I pay for it in advance. I've got my ticket for that thing. What do they do 3 days before the convention? They say, oh, surprise guest appearance by Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, I always liked him. Yeah. I always thought he should have been Joker.
Christopher Lloyd as Joker would have been interesting.
That would have been, yeah. Because he had both that serious and the comedic side.
He's way too old for it now.
Oh, yeah. That time has passed.
Unless they do a Dark Knight Returns movie. He can play that one.
Yeah, he can do that.
Oh, I'm up for this now all of a sudden. He's got a serious Reese's peanut butter cup habit too. He just had him to keep him going on his table there. It's like, I got to have the energy to keep up with this. But
person after person, I bet that is taxing.
I got his signature and a photograph with him, and I got my photo with the captains in one group shot. I'll email them to you later.
Yeah, that sounds like you had fun. Used to whenever because I had my 2 stores here in the Little Rock area, and whenever somebody would do a show, because I never tried to go over and do the conventions, I just concentrated on running my businesses and doing the publishing. That was where my main extra effort went into, and writing stories and like that. And but whenever somebody would have a show, usually they would say, hey, if you promote it for us, we'll give you like a table, or we'll give you some free promotion. And so there was like a trade-off there. And these new guys, they're just like, hey, promote it for us. Okay, you expect I'm just going to send my customers, say, don't shop with me today, go over here. There was no trade-off there, no balance.
Well, I never went to cons to buy books. I don't think I've ever bought a book at a con, unless I bought it at like a table from the creator. Like I went to Northwest Arkansas Comic Con a few months ago now,
Uh-huh.
and I went there because again they had one comic book creator among the voice actors and everything, and it was Tom DeFalco,
Okay.
and I didn't have anything for him because all my books are stored away elsewhere. But
Mhm.
I went by his table. There was nobody there, and I just said, I didn't bring anything to sign. I just wanted to stop by and say, thank you for writing Herd on so many writers for so many years. And
Yeah,
bringing
he was
so
the
many
editor at Marvel there for a while.
Yeah, Secret Wars. That was all him, Jim Shooter, and it was fun. He found out that I was writing the Destroyer, and he had published the Destroyer for Marvel when they had it as a comic book series. So
Yeah,
talk
magazine.
about Warren Murphy some. Yeah, for magazine format, and I signed some books for him, and he signed some books for me, and got our picture taken. It was a fun time, and he told me because I have a friend who's got the Secret Wars #6, I want to say it is, first Spider-Man black costume,
Uh-huh.
or the origin of the black costume.
Yeah, 8 is the origin of the black costume.
Okay, 8, and
That's the
obviously
original.
it wasn't the first
Period,
one because
the
the
original.
book came out with it. But he told me how Jim Shooter had came to him, and they had, he said it was like that scene out of Miracle on 34th Street where the bags of mail start showing up on the judge's desk. He said we got literal mail bags full dumped on my desk of people who had seen the black costume in Amazing Spider-Man and
Mhm.
hated it.
Oh,
It
wow.
was vitriol. And Shooter walks in and says, "When does Spider-Man get the black costume? This issue. Okay, next issue he loses it." And
Okay.
Tom was like, "But we've got 6 months to go before he actually gets it in Secret Wars. We got to hang on." And because he talked Jim into hanging on, you got Venom, which is one of their most popular money-making characters now.
Yeah.
They were able to build that story and develop it out. But Venom almost didn't happen. It was if Jim Shooter had stood his ground, that'd have been a black costume for all of a day, and it would have been gone.
Yeah, they worked out. It's like actually the first appearance of Venom was Web of Spider-Man 8. You don't see him. What it was, there's a hand that comes off panel, and all you do is just see like about from here to the hand and the wrist pushing Spider-Man on a subway, trying to push him in front of a train. And he's like, "Wait a minute, my spider sense didn't warn me. What's going on?" Well, that was Eddie Brock with the Venom symbiote in him, and that's the official first appearance of Venom in the Marvel Universe.
You got Web of Spider-Man #8, folks. Grab it. It's like that first appearance of Wolverine, one panel at the end of Hulk #180.
8 or maybe 10. I don't know. I might be thinking of that Secret Wars, but yeah, 8 or 10. It might be 10 actually. Now that I think about it more, but yeah, just got that one hand, and nobody knew what was going on. And then finally, years later, they said, "Oh, well, yeah, that was Eddie Brock's hand push him." And since it was the Venom symbiote, he didn't detect it as a danger.
Oh, now I've got to go look it up. But that's why I go to cons, is to meet the people who are creating stuff, and I'll bring books to a con to get signed. But since I didn't bring any, he had some Marvel True Believers reprints of Machine Man #1, and I was like, oh, I loved that Machine Man miniseries that he did. I had all 4 issues pinned up on my wall in the bags. I put them in bags and I put pins through
Barry
the bags.
Windsor Smith finished the artwork on it. It started out with Herb Trimp, and I never was a fan of Herb Trimp. But all of a sudden, you put Barry Windsor Smith inking on him, and all of a sudden, Herb looked like a genius. And then, of course, Barry finished the art all together at the end. He did the whole thing on the 4th issue.
We've talked about, Captain America the Bicentennial special.
Mm-hmm.
All of it penciled by Jack Kirby, but with such a tight deadline that every other page was inked by somebody else.
Yeah, and you could just tell you could tell which guys just traced over his pencils, and which guys actually embellished it. Yeah, you got to get it in the giant Treasury Edition format to really appreciate it, because they have it collected together in a trade paperback, which is shrunk down to about a quarter of the size of the Treasury Edition, and all of a sudden you just lose so much of the detail of the inking. It kind of just muddies it all up. But if you want to see what Jack Kirby's artwork looks like with a whole bunch of different inkers, get the Marvel Treasury Edition of Captain America's Bicentennial Battles, and you'll see how different his art can look with different inkers.
That's one of those big books, like the Superman versus Spider-Man that came out a similar time.
Yeah, it was a very hated format because it didn't fit in anybody's collection. They were just too large. Nobody knew where to put them. It's like, this is okay. Well, and then I got these over here in a separate stack, and I don't know where to put that stack. And it didn't last very long, but that was a innovation. But it was really great because you were getting to see the artwork in the original size that the artist drew it.
Yeah, it was a fun book for readers. But if you were a store or if you were a collector, you're like, we got. I don't even know that they were making bags back then.
Back then they weren't. No, matter of fact, back then they didn't hardly make bags for comics, let alone for the trade edition. And later, they did make some formats for them, but it just it was one of those things that just didn't fit anywhere in your collection. And they did do a few good things. You had the Spider-Man versus Superman comic with
you had the Spider-Man and Superman. There were two team ups.
Exactly. So those were some pretty outstanding books, milestones in the comic publishing history that happened in the trade.
My favorite still the Batman versus the Incredible Hulk. Proof again that Batman can beat anybody with enough planning.
He even had Howard the Duck and the Adventures of Bag Mom, not Baghdad, but Bag Mom.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I loved the Howard the Duck magazine format ones too.
That was when Steve Gerber was really on target. I mean, one of the best all-time satire comics was Howard the Duck, number 8. Here's that number 8 again, and is where he was running for president. And I mean, it is one gag after another, almost like a one-liner, almost every panel. And he's at the convention of the all-night party, and they're trying to decide, what they're going to do on different things. And they're having an argument in this one room. Howard finally just gets tired of listening to people talk. He jumps up on the table and says, look, what he's trying to tell you people is we got to get the stupid people out of intelligence.
Yes.
Just things like that, just one after another. It was great stuff. You buy one Howard the Duck comic, that's the one where he runs for president. Of course, you got the cover, where you got Jimmy Carter cries foul, F-O-W-L.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They made buttons and T-shirts to push that whole thing. It was a real PR campaign for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had Frank Bruner doing the artwork at that time too, and he just did a great job. And Frank did the covers for my Wild Stars Volume 3.
I was going to say Frank Bruner did some work for Wild Stars.
Yeah, and so when you go to get that free book we were talking about earlier, I think I dropped it down now, that I'm giving away, Book of Circles, you have the covers by Frank Bruner in there in black and white.
Yep.
So you have Frank Bruner in there.
Coming up on the top of the hour, I want to remind everybody that as we wrap up, jump over to the mic stand where Mike Walters is going to go over the niche news of the day, everything that's happening in comics, professional wrestling, and manga, because it has to take an hour, and there's just not enough of all three of them to. I don't know why. They all go together, and everybody just accepts it. Just to wrap up the Kickstarter here, we talked about the signed softcover for $30. That $40 hardcover. Wow, that image. That image alone is worth the $40.
Yeah.
Is that printed gloss onto the cover, or is that
that's a wrapper?
Wrapper,
mm-hmm.
Or both?
Wrapper on the hardcover. No, you'll have like the linen cover or hardcover, and then this will be a wrapper, a dust jacket.
Okay. That's the word I was looking for. Dust jacket. That's just a beautiful picture to have for.
Thank you.
Cover, and of course, get it signed for $50. Now, you can get both non-signed for $55, and you can get both signed for $65. So you're getting two signatures for the $10. This is your best deal. So you can get if you want to get the hardcover signed for $50, or you want to get both of them signed for $65, $15 more. You're getting a reading copy, basically. And that's it. That's the end of the tiers. Everything else is add-ons where you can just go crazy, folks. Take one of these, three of those, one of those.
You got out-of-print first editions in there that you can get at really good prices. You get like I said, my Multiversal Scribe magazine from 1977 for only $10. Like I said, it costs you $100 if you go try to buy it on Amazon or eBay.
Yeah. So get in there and fill up your collection. Now, you've got these stretch goals here. We got $5,500. You'll get some 2 more illustrations from Jesse White.
Right.
And if you get 7,000, you'll get 4 more. Now, just to be clear, is that 2 more on top of the 55 or 4 more on top of the 55?
No, 2 more on top of the 55. So a total of 4 more.
Okay.
Good question.
Of course, here is the short history that we've pretty much all covered. This is the very first appearance of the Wild Stars here in the Multiversal Scribe.
Actually, it's not actually the first appearance of the Wild Stars. The first appearance
Really
happened in 1972, Eerie Magazine. Well, you talk about people who just take your work and just publish it and don't pay you. I was trying to sell a short story called Final Conqueror to Eerie Magazine. I thought, well, maybe they've got artists who can illustrate it for me. Well, I didn't know what it was. I was a kid in junior high. And so I sent that story. That was my first published Wild Star story, Final Conqueror. And they ran, I think it was an Eerie Magazine 38 or 36. I've got it on my website. And and actually that's story's part of the finale in volume 12. So I started out first publishing part of the end of it. And then I've just been filling in all the gap of everything that happened before.
Okay, so you've
been working on this a long time.
You were published in Eerie Magazine, January 1972 issue.
Right.
Doesn't have there it is, number 37.
Oh, 37. Okay. Been a while.
Let's see, Eerie Magazine, number
I
37.
show it on my website. Now, if
I'm curious if it's out there. This is it's a I can get it for $5.88.
Oh wow. That's the first, that's the one. Yeah. So it's 37. Okay. Well, I hadn't looked at it in a long time.
I mean, I saw one for $40 and I'm like, but this one's $5.88. Why would I do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
they don't advertise anything about it having a Wild Stars story in there. And I wasn't even using the Wild Stars term in that story, but it was a story from a Wild Stars.
Well, I'm just going to get it because it's yours. It's got your byline on it, right?
Yeah, it does show me. Yeah, matter of fact, I'll let you complete that, and I'll direct you to something else you can look at. Oh, actually, that's best offer. Yeah,
I'm looking, trying to find the ones with the buy it now because I hate fighting for stuff. There's some buy it nows. Okay, click on that, and okay, I can get it for this one right here, $7.49.
and that's free local pickup, not free shipping.
Yeah, of course this one's a little worn.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty.
I think I can do better.
Yeah, I would pass on that one. You don't know what that caused that staining. I hope it's water. You never know.
Yeah, you hope it's water, but it could have been filtered through a cat. Now this one looks in nice condition.
Yeah, that was not bad. You got that white trim, so you got to be careful on those. But that does look nice.
So for $6.95, buy it now.
Yeah,
we are in. Let's not show RJ's credit card information. So we're going to take care of this right now. Buy it now. Boom. Sign in. Let's take care of this. Come on. Scrolling. And we'll just say the PayPal credit's already hit. Yeah, I know. I do too much PayPal credit, which is why I owe PayPal more money than they owe me. Okay, so switching back over to the Kickstarter, did you have something else that I was going to look at?
Well, actually, I was going to say, if people want to know more about the Wild Stars, because, obviously I've been working on it decades and decades. It's a life's work. I have a website which tells you about all this stuff. It's called www.thewildstars. Yeah, THEWILDSTARS.com. And so I give you the entire history on there. I mean, up there in the upper left-hand corner, you see top up my former 2 stores, which are now not there in those locations anymore. They're all online now, but those are my stores I did for about 40 years. Those are the covers done by Frank Bruner for the volume 3s. And 39 years since I did the first publication with the trademark of Wild Stars on a publication, even though I was circulating around in the mid-70s in novel form. And then there's the Wild Stars 2 with the Force Majeure, a little video I did about all the history up to that point. And then here you get the Wild Stars 3 that was first published by Kursova, went straight to book, it wasn't serialized. And that's the cover by Tim Lim of Common America.
It's a different style than I'm used to seeing from him, but it's definitely him.
Yeah. And then there's the wraparound paperback by Mark Wheatley, and then there's the elimination hardcover. You could get all three of those. Those have been sold time, but I happen to have some extra inventory from when I closed my stores. Like, well, let's just put them on the Kickstarter, give people a chance to buy these sold out first editions of the number 3, the volume 3.
All right, and my purchase is now complete on.
Well,
on
congratulations.
Now, would that be your first publishing credit?
What's that now? Oh, my first. Well, yeah. I mean, I was in. Yeah. Actually, I think that was before I was. It came out when I was like in 10th grade. Now, I was writing for the school paper, and I was getting a lot of bylines on that. But it was around the time, so but nobody ever sees those school papers anymore. For a while there, we actually while I was editor of the school paper, we were actually being published as part of the local newspaper. But
nice.
I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I think I got them up in a trunk somewhere in my attic.
But for Erie Magazine, you got a good check from that, right? They
didn't get nothing. They published it for free and put it in their fan pages. Said, thank you for the free store. I'm like, I wasn't wanting to give it to you. I was wanting to sell it, And I was, a kid at the time. I was in junior high, It's like I didn't know how things worked.
Whoops.
Yeah. Another reason why I quit submitting my stuff. We'll just take it, run it for free. He's a kid. What's he going to do?
Well, that's what happened to Jerry and Joe, isn't it? I mean, they were just high school kids creating Superman.
Nice. It's nice to get published, but you don't want to give the stuff away. And that's the anniversary, 35th anniversary set of 1 through 4. And then that's the that you're seeing there. That's the book that we're giving away. And then the other 4, or other 3 of the 4. Then there's the that's the virgin art of the omnibus hardcover. Another great illustration by Ant Oxnick.
And there's so much stuff on this website, folks. I mean, Michael's got this thing just filled up with WildStar stuff, but also with, some interesting videos that were taken in the store, like when you had She-Hulk appear.
Yeah. I've got video of me diving with sharks in the middle of a shark feeding frenzy.
Do you still go diving?
It's been a while. I really, was disappointing. In the 90s, I was real disappointed how bad the oceans were getting. And then when I went again, like around 2008, and I was like, oh man, it's like graveyards now. Now, everybody always wants to blame global warming, but that's not the real problem with the oceans and the reefs. It's human pollution, because you can get out way far away from any kind of civilization. The reefs still look great. They look pristine. Closer you get to civilization, that's when you get all the bleaching, because there's all this pollution, this human waste. They can filter that out and not kill the reefs, but no, we'll just call it global warming. That way we don't have to actually do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's human pollution.
Now, you got artwork up here already for WildStars 8, and this is, we're talking about 6 tonight.
Yeah, 8, I've already sold them. 8, they've got it. It's scheduled to be serialized next year. And then I've also got a mock cover I made up for the final volume, WildStars 12, the conclusion with the Star Harvesters.
Yeah, so this is done, and of course, Mike's into politics. He is a politician. Don't hate him for that. We've got plenty of other reasons we can hate him for it. No,
I can tackle any conversation. If you want to talk about what's going on in the Middle East, I can talk about that. I mean, I'm not afraid of any subject. But I'm on the city council, and so I get to deal with every problem everybody has in the city.
Right.
But that's it's kind of funny, because when I ran again, everybody's like, well, you got all this other stuff going on. Why do you want to mess with all these hassles? And I always tell myself, well, it's kind of like Bruce Willis in Armageddon. He didn't go up to that asteroid because he wanted to. He just didn't trust anybody else to do the job.
That's right. Yeah. And like I said, here's the you had, now this wasn't just like a cosplayer showed up. You went through Marvel.
Yeah.
And this was an official.
Allison Gordy. She had like 100 movie credits. I mean, from Crocodile Dundee on. I mean, she didn't have talking parts, but she was in all these different scenes and all these movies. They even wanted her to be a Hammerette in the Mickey Spillane Mike Hammer series, and she turned that down. And she was a great character appearance. Also had a Catwoman, and let's not even talk about that right now, because that was a big battle with Time Warner. I had the last official appearance of the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman from Batman 2.
Oh. But not Michelle Pfeiffer, just that character version.
In her costume, because it actually had Michelle's name on the inside.
Oh, like in her actual costume, not a reproduction of it.
The actual costume from the movie, right.
So at least the costume was touring.
Yeah, they what it is, I had it contracted but they wanted to approve all my advertising. Well, I had a contract like a year and a half before the event. I mean, I planned way ahead. Obviously, you can tell that's a pattern for me. And but they never would approve my advertising. I'm like, guys, look, it's just in a few months now. I need to start advertising this. You've been killing my campaign. And they're like, well, we've changed our mind. We decided we don't want you to have the movie Catwoman. We decided to retire her. You can only have the animated version. I'm like, well, guys, I signed a contract. Do you know what the words breach of contract mean? And they're like, okay. All right, well, yeah, you can have her then. You'll have the last appearance ever. But since we get to approve the advertising, you can only advertise the animated images.
Oh.
Killed it. Well, and then I was double cursed because the day I'm having her there, and I've got local television crews lined up to come cover it. I got local newspaper crews. I mean, everyone's like, hey, you got Catwoman? We don't care what the advertising looks like. We want to cover this when it happens. And so all these people who are going to come, and I was going to be on the news, get all that free media attention to kind of help pay for the expenses of doing it. Bill Clinton did this whitewater thing, him and his wife, Hillary. They skated through it, but Jim Guy Tucker, the governor who replaced him, was in on the deal, and he's the guy who ended up falling on the sword. And that was the day they led him down the Arkansas Capitol steps in handcuffs. Well, guess which crews got diverted to cover that story?
Yep.
So I got no media publicity out of it at all. It was double grease.
Yeah, that was a bad time to try to get media attention because they were busy.
Yeah, they're like, what? We got the governor in handcuffs? Yeah, let's go see.
Let's go take care of this. All right. Well, we have surpassed the top of the hour. That's fine. I don't really care how long we go on, but we've covered the campaign.
I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about it. It's nice to get the word out. Hopefully, people will, even if they don't buy Wild Star 6, they'll buy the Volume 1, maybe get interested and, at some point start trying the rest of the Wild Stars.
Exactly.
It's got a plan. It's got a set finish. Now, that won't necessarily be the last Wild Stars story I ever tell, because obviously it's got settings. I've done even a role-playing game book. You kind of showed a little image of it when you were scanning through my webpage. And so where you can have your own gaming adventures in all these different settings. And so I can always revisit untold stories that weren't part of the main story.
Okay, so at the end of 12, there's still more Wild Stars yet to come.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you the rest of the story on some of these other events, that weren't, they were part of the main story, but then what's the rest of what happened there? So I can go back and tell you other stories of the Wild Stars. The Wild Stars
right until you die. Right until you die, man. That's all you can do. Pops, good to see you out there in the chat. We are, yeah. In fact, thank you for throwing the link out there. We did throw the ad up, but we needed the link. Pops is taking his YouTube network of indie comics creators and their shows to Roku. So if you want to, participate in that, hit the link. You can buy advertising on the site. You can buy books and artwork that will help them collect the money they need to, buy the Roku rights for a year. If you know what Roku is, Mike, it's a streaming service where it's like Netflix, but with your own content that you can provide it if you want to buy a Roku channel.
Okay.
Yeah. They got stuff for fans. They got stuff for showrunners. They got stuff for sponsors. You want to advertise your next Wild Stars novel 3 times a day for a month, $20 sponsorship. Boom, there it is. That's the kind of thing that they're trying to do. And then, they don't have to worry about YouTube saying, hey, we don't like what you did. We're going to demonetize you or take your video down, because there ain't nobody going to run roughshod on them. They're on their own.
When you were scanning through my Wild Stars page, you didn't go down far enough, but I've written nonfiction, Edgar Rice Burroughs art chronology and a Robert E. Howard art chronology. Well, the last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of people who tried to post reviews of my Robert E. Howard chronology, and they wouldn't put them up. And one guy, he sent me his review, he goes, what's going on? And they had said, oh, I'm sorry, it goes against our community standards. And there's absolutely nothing in his review that would have been offensive to anybody. So you just wonder what's going on. I mean, he eventually got him to put it up. He had to submit it like 3 times. Like, okay, 3 is a charm. Now we'll put it up. But yeah, the Robert E. Howard chronology, a guy on Amazon was having a hard time getting his review up. Actually, I had 3 guys all have trouble getting the reviews up. Then all of a sudden, at one time, they just started taking them all.
That's strange. I mean,
let them publish.
It's not for artwork reasons or anything, because Uh, Amazon's the one putting the artwork up, so they don't care about,
Yeah.
bare-chested people. Um,
Right. Yeah. There was
yeah,
nothing in any of the reviews. They just put a freeze on it. And then, of course, it happened right after one guy. Of course, I had a 5-star review. And then some guy comes in and dings me with a 1-star review. You can tell he didn't even read it. He's just one of the guys. He comes up with a fake name and then tries to say, "Oh well, it's full of errors and this and that." Obviously, just complete BS. And so that inspired some other people. Like, well, I'm going to tell the truth about your book. So try to counter this guy. And then they wouldn't let him post anything. You're like, man, that guy worked there or what? But just the dam finally broke. They finally started putting other reviews up. So now they get up from all the damage that guy did with a 1-star review. He said, and the whole thing too is I thought you needed to be a buyer of the book. This guy's like, I didn't buy this book. I looked at a friend's copy and I wouldn't buy this thing. That was his review.
oh, geez.
And then,
Okay,
one guy did a huge favor because he showed photos on the inside which completely countered all these things. This guy tried to say, oh, the art's all real tiny and the text runs all over almost on top of the artwork. And you look at the photos the other guy posts like, yeah, that's complete BS. But that happens. I mean, somebody sees you, hey, he's got all 5 stars. I'm going to change that. It's amazing how people are like that. They just, I can mess this guy up. Like, what kind of a sad life is somebody living where that's what they get enjoyment out of? That's pretty pathetic.
I just read the review. Wow. $254, folks, if you want to get the Robert E. Howard art chronology, which is,
over 7,000 images, 360,000 words, and 2.5 years of my life. That's all I did.
Yeah. It's actually, I'm kind of surprised that you have copies left to be on Amazon.
Yeah, they're doing real well. The publishers already, say, hey, let's get another one going. Like, give me a little time. We'll get my Wild Stars done now. And another thing I do on top of that, we didn't even talk about this. If you scroll down even further, I'll let you kind of scroll down on my website there if you don't mind. There's my Edgar Rice Burroughs chronology, which they still have copies of that. But right there, Beyond the Fire of the Star. That's a weekly online comic strip that I write for the Edgar Rice Burroughs people based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' Beyond the Fire of the Star. And that comes out every week. So yeah, that one's going on too.
Like I said, a lot of stuff on this website, which is here in the chat, thewildstars.com. Go hit that website up, and you'll find everything that Mike's doing or done. This was the last book you had out there. We talked about on our last show with you.
That's sold out. I did have a few extra copies that I've got online with over on eBay. So right now you can only buy that on eBay from my eBay store. I've got a few copies left. And there's another one I did right there. That's the latest issue of Kursova. Now that's got part 3 out of the 4 parts of the Wild Stars 8. Wild Star 7, the gold exigency, which is running now. But it also has a cover story by me. That's Texas Goth with an assist from Abraham Strongjohn, and it's cover featured. So that's a Tierney twofer. You get it's a double play. You get the horror story Texas Goth, and you also get a chapter of Wild Stars in that one. And then over to the left, Sons of Hercules has you remember the Sons of Hercules from the movies back in the 60s?
I don't. But Alex told me all about it when we had him on the show to push the book.
Right. Yeah. See, what they did is those were the superhero movies of the 60s, where they took all these strongman movies from, foreign, Italy and places like that. And they just redubbed them and retitled them and said, hey, they're all Sons of Hercules. And, fighting, bad guys and terrible monsters and back in the ancient world. And so he did an anthology of those. And I've got a story there called The Battle of the Rages. And that's the limited hardcover. You won't be able to find that anymore unless, of course, you go to my eBay store. I bought a few copies and I'm selling some copies online, but that's the sold out Kickstarter limited edition hardcover that was only on the Kickstarter. There's a paperback edition, though, that you can buy. That's still available for sale. And but if you get the hardcover, it's got my cover and, of course, a story about me on the inside. And there's my bibliography. Now, that's below that. That's a link to my bibliography. And then there's another link to reviews that people have done on the story. So it's all on there. And I've got just where I had fun, just putting other stuff. There was this series called Tarzan Adventures, which would take these movie stills and they would colorize it. Well, I took a few of them and put my own words on there, had a little fun with them. And then below that is a, have you ever heard of Nathaniel Hawthorne?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
His son, Julian Hawthorne, was actually a more heavily published author than Nathaniel. But Julian ran into some trouble. He had another wife on the side. And so he needed some extra money. Yeah, that's not what got him in trouble, but what he was doing to support everything got him in trouble. And these guys in Canada say, hey, we got a silver mine. We want you to be our front guy. We want you to be the face to advertise this. It was a Ponzi scheme. It was a scam. And so him being the face, he went to jail. He's like, I'm a victim too. Well, after he gets out of jail, he tries to resume his career. And, the guy, editor, Bob Davis at All Story magazine, he said, okay, I'll buy a batch of stories from you. And he was actually doing some of the earliest science fiction ever done, and horror, just a variety of stuff. And, ghosts changing bodies and things like that. And so got together with Kursova, and, because I've got all these old pulp magazines, and I restored the covers, and we re-released all this stuff because it had never been reprinted since they were first published in the 19-teens, out of print for over 100 years. And so we brought it back. And if you go a little bit lower, there's that's the first one we did, the Cosmic Courtship. That's a great.
Yeah, it's like one of the earliest outer space stories.
Yeah, it had teleportation. I mean, it's a wild story. I mean, it opens up with a woman having dinner with her, I think it was her dad, and she leaves. She climbs up on top of this tall structure and jumps off and flies away because she's been approved by basically their version of the Federal Aviation Administration. This is way before you actually had planes or any kind of a governmental body, but he's talking about that, how she was, had a permit to fly. She had a bodysuit that she could fly, and you're doing teleportation. You got clothes made of fires. So he was doing some pretty wild stuff. And so we brought that back from obscurity and got it published where people could read it again.
Just so much stuff here. Yeah.
And this is while I'm doing we were doing all those while I was still working on the Robert E. Howard chronology too. And this is just, while I was going through all these old pulps, I was like, there's a lot of these beautiful covers. And so I created a page where I show you a lot of the different artwork and a lot of these lost covers. That's by a guy by the name of J.U. Geisey, and Junius B. Smith was a character by the name of Semidual. And what it was, he was a prince of Persia, and they called him Semidual because he would always come up with two solutions for everything. He'd come up with the mystical solution and the mundane solution. And I mean, he had 20-some stories published in All Story. Most of them have been out of print ever since they were first published. So there's still a lot of stuff that has been lost. So
a lot of those covers were just like, you look at them, you're like, how wasn't there a more puritanical time?
I know. She's like, my eyes are up here, buddy.
Yeah, it's but just beautiful artwork.
It was, yeah. It used to. That's one thing. Every time I see all these old reviews of the old pulps, there's one word they always use to describe the cover art: lurid.
Yes,
I like lurid, I guess, because it's colorful, it's bright, imaginative, things happening.
Give me some Vargas style painted work or some Elvgren. I'm all over it.
Yeah, I'm happy to have lurid covers of my Wild Stars.
All right. Well, Michael, it's good to have you on again. We've got to get back to doing the LCS guys shows. This has proved that we need to have these hour-long chats once a month, just about where we wander onto everything.
Yeah, I mean, we almost never keep it under an hour.
No, we never did. Folks, speaking of under things, under this video screen, you will find the link to the Kickstarter for Wild Stars number 6. Be sure to hit that up. Look, it's a book. It exists. Get it. Read it. If you're a science fiction fan, pick it up. If you know someone who's a science fiction fan, say, hey, go look at this video so that they can follow the link and go get this book. It's funded. It's going to happen. It is it's at $1,628 right now. 20 days to go. Make this thing, put some artwork in it. You can make some artwork appear in this thing by funding it higher. Hit those stretch goals. All right, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We do appreciate you showing up. We don't have a show without you. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. So we're glad you're here. And, of course, while you're here, as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.